I am Katie Smith. I'm going to be hosting today, and I am a home ownership counselor out of Adair's Crestwell office, which is kind of the Eugene-ish, Oregon area. My co-host today is Jen. Jen, feel free to introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. I am actually an HSC based out of Spokane, Washington.
So we're representing two of Adair's build states, so it'll be exciting to have a couple different perspectives. Jen's going to be moderating the questions today, or watching the questions. So we love questions. I'm hoping that with this big of a group, we'll get some good participation. So please use the Q&A function. She's going to be keeping an eye on that and kind of calling questions out as we go. So Q&A rather than chat, if possible, works a lot better for us. So little preface to this. I'm just getting over a cold. I sound terrible. I'm sorry. Jen's already agreed to just jump in and start talking if I go into a sneezing fit or something weird. So I apologize ahead of time if that happens, but fingers crossed that this is just a smooth, easy, no coughing spells. So what we are showing you today is Adair's Bannock Plan. This is about a 2,400 square foot single level home. And this is kind of a modern exterior, which we call our Riata series. I'm going to start by showing you this plan as a standard, and then I'm going to show you the specific homeowner's version of it, the upgrades they made, and we'll actually take a video tour through the house so you can see it's beautiful. It's complete. I can't wait to show it off. So first things first, what you are looking at is our website. This is the Bannock Plan. On the outside of the house, we're going to do a fiber cement board all the way around. So it's a James Hardie brand. Some people are caught off guard. They expect that these what look like concrete squares are something different or some kind of different siding, but it's actually all James Hardie, which is amazing because it comes with a 50-year warranty. With the modern exterior, we're going to do kind of this modern looking garage door with these windows going down this side and then a similar front door to match. We're going to do this 50-year architectural shingle roof on all plans, not just the modern. And then we're going to do these lifetime vinyl windows. So that's what you're seeing on the outside. When you look at our website and you see kind of these pre-packaged design elevations, things can be changed. So if you're looking at this and you're like, oh, we love it, we love everything, but maybe not so much the stone column, that can totally be changed. Let's see here. I'm going to jump. I see we have questions already, Jen. Anything pertaining to the outside?
Not the outside. We have a question about if they can upgrade to the 5/8 sheetrock and 20 amp plugs. So yes, on the 20 amp plugs, we can absolutely do that.
I would assume we can do the sheetrock as well, although I've never personally done that. Have you?
I have not either. So that would be one I would have to find out the answer to.
Okay, we might do a tiny bit of research on that. My gut feeling would be yes, absolutely, but we'll have to, since neither of us have personally done it, we'll research and get back to that one. But I'm excited there's questions already. I feel like that's a good sign. So I'm going to show you this floor plan as a standard. So coming in the front door here, we've got our utility room that kind of cuts through across to the garage. You've got your den, coat closet, and then kitchen, dining, great room, kind of one big open space. We have the primary suite, so primary suite, primary bath, walk-in closet, all on one wing of the house, we'll call it. And then on the other side are the 3 guest bedrooms or kids bedrooms and bathroom, half bath in the middle. So the changes that these guys made, they did some pretty significant structural changes. So I'm going to pull up their plans and try to point out structural changes that they've made from the base package so you'll know what you're looking at when we go through the video. Okay, so what we're seeing here, these are a little busy. You're coming in the entry for the den. So if you remember on the standard plan, there's 2 storage closets over here facing the hallway. And these guys just squared off the den. They took some of that storage closet, made the den a tiny bit bigger, and then did just 1 storage closet in the hallway rather than the 2. They did the biggest upgrade they did, or biggest change they made, was adding this bonus room. So Off of the great room, they've now got this 15.5 by 15 bonus room. And then they did this pantry option. So when you do the pantry option, you're going to take your walk-in closet. I should have said first, this is the reverse version from the website plan that I just showed you. So sorry if I threw anyone with that. But they added a walk-in pantry. So they pushed their walk-in closet for their bedroom down to give space for a full walk-in pantry here off the kitchen. Another big thing they did is, as a standard, the ceiling in this house is 8 foot flat. These guys decided to do what we call the mixed plate option. So when you come in the foyer here, you're going to walk right into 10-foot ceilings, and then you're going to transition into 12-foot ceilings in the great room, dining, kitchen, and den, and then 9-foot for all of the bedrooms. So really grand entrance, you'll notice as soon as the video kind of shoots into that foyer. When you do that option, I'll point out some of the other changes that comes with it, but it adds a ton of windows in addition to the ceiling height. So some really cool changes. Okay, let's get right into this video. So when I show the video, it goes a little fast. So I like to kind of just pause it occasionally, answer questions, give you a minute to kind of soak it all in. Let's just start this over. So first thing I should say before we really get rolling is the exterior of this house has not been painted yet. So if you saw this and you're like, oh, interesting color choices, this is actually the primer color that hardy board comes in. So no paint yet on the outside, although it's coming. And then if you remember from the website picture, there was cultured stone on the bottom of the house and around the columns. This family opted not to do cultured stone. So this is what it would look like without that stone. I'm going to pause here already because, as you can see, coming into this house, the ceilings are so tall. It's such a grand entrance. It's beautiful. And I'll kind of point out what you're seeing as we go. So this is the utility room connecting us to the garage. You have options here. So you could choose to have Adair do built-in cabinetry, sinks. These guys decided to do kind of their own cabinet that they had on hand. So they had us delete our standard shelving. They put in their own cabinets. What they did do though, what they did have Adair do is, rather than our standard 6-panel doors, they did this 5-panel more modern looking door. And then they did a luxury vinyl plank flooring in here and upgraded their trim package to be more of this craftsman feel.
Okay, do you have a question about the kitchen and cabinet uppers? They wanted to know what the kitchen cabinet uppers, how big they were and if it could be changed. So the standard, I believe, is 30. And yes, they can.
Yeah, so on this plan, when they do the mixed plate height, they go to actually 48 inches tall on the top. So they're giant. But you could totally choose to have them go all the way to the ceiling. You could add just, a smaller cabinet on top of all the uppers. All the cabinets are made to order. So sky's really the limit, I would say. Do you agree, or have you?
Nope, I agree with that. I've seen them even do the glass fronts on the cabinets.
Yeah.
All sorts of fun stuff with the cabinets.
Totally customizable. Okay, so what you're seeing is the den. You can, on this plan, choose to make this a bedroom. So your doorway, I'm going to pause this, your doorway would face actually the hallway on the other side, which is facing the bedrooms. But as a den with the mixed plate option, we now have 12-foot ceilings in here. We've got these giant windows plus the transom windows above, which come with that mixed plate option. And then this is just an upgraded carpet that they did with that craftsman style trim. So we're passing this coat closet here and then going right into that open great room, kitchen, dining space. We're going to get some good views of this kitchen because it is absolutely beautiful. So what you're seeing here, as a standard, we would do a 30-inch oven range combo, kind of a slide-in Whirlpool brand with a microwave hood, and then the dishwasher, which is over here on the sink. What this family decided to do is what we call the gourmet kitchen. So I'm sure if you've played around on our website, you see that gourmet kitchen option a lot. What that gourmet kitchen option does is gives you a range top, a 36-inch range hood, and then a built-in wall oven. Plus, when you turn the corner, you'll see they have a second built-in oven and a built-in microwave. They kind of modified the gourmet kitchen. Actually, they kicked it up a notch. So they had us do the gourmet layout, but then they chose to provide their own appliances. Speaking of cabinets being made to order, they also did an oversized fridge here. So as a standard, Adair does not provide the fridge, although we do, of course, do the wiring and the plumbing for it. But we do a standard size, and these guys said, you know what, we have this oversized fridge we're looking to buy. And so we made the space fit the fridge that they plan to put there. And then my most favorite thing about this whole kitchen is these cabinet pulls. So what she did here is she actually deleted our standards and added her own. And I think there's a close-up of them. They're beautiful. Quartz countertops, quartz backsplash. Yeah, look at those. I mean, and then they did a painted alder cabinet. Originally, she had talked about doing, you know, one color paint for the lowers and the island, and then another color for the uppers. And then she had changed her mind, but it turned out just beautiful. So here, just an undermount composite sink. They upgraded their faucet to the matte black.
Katie, we have a question. They missed the conversation about the wall height. So can you talk about what they did with the height of the ceiling in this one?
Yes. Okay. So standard ceiling height in this plan, actually in all of our plans, is 8 foot flat. So these guys did what's called the mixed plate option. So they made their great room, dining, entry, kitchen 12 foot tall, and then 9 foot you'll see in all of the bedrooms. And when you do that mixed plate option with this particular plan, it automatically adds these transom windows above all the windows in the 12-foot areas. So we are turning the corner now into their primary suite. So this door here, because this family had already moved in, we gave them a little privacy and didn't explore their pantry. But this door here would lead into the pantry that they added. And then we go into their primary bath. So again, we have these luxury vinyl floors, which they kind of carried throughout the house. These quartz countertops, undermount sinks with matte black fixtures. She did do her own pulls in here too, so the matte black to match the plumbing fixtures. And then this is actually that same painted cabinet that we saw in the kitchen. We have craftsman style trim in this room as well, but rather than full wrap on the windows, just a craftsman windowsill. And then for this tub, I should clarify. So we did the rough in. So we did the drain in hot and cold water and just left it as that. And then the family actually added this tub and this fixture themselves, which is really cool. And then you'll see just a glimpse of the shower. So what we did here, they don't go into this shower, but we did a full height tile, wall tile, floor, so built-in tile shower. As a standard in the primary bath, we always try to do 2 sinks whenever the vanity is big enough to accommodate. So this is totally standard here.
And then undermount would come standard with the hard surface countertop.
In the kitchen, yes. In the bathroom, it's still an upgrade. Okay, I'm going to do a quick pause. So they added these little valances here. But we did do, so we have an upgraded carpet, which you'll see they did the same carpet in the den, in the great room, in the bedrooms. We've got this craftsman style trim, craftsman style windowsill, and then of course the 9-foot ceilings and the recessed lights. just cute. I'm not used to doing these virtual tours with houses that have already been decorated. So it's like so exciting. It makes such a difference, or already been moved into. Okay, and then what's not pictured is again their walk-in closet for the same reason they live in it. So we give them a little privacy, didn't go into their closet. So we're leaving the bedroom, headed into this great room. So 12-foot ceilings. There's so much light coming in from this wall of windows over here. But what you're seeing is luxury vinyl floors here again, the same upgraded carpet that we saw in the bedrooms. And then rather than just doing window sills, they did full wrap to really make these a focal point. And usually there wouldn't be a door here, but of course they added that bonus room. So access coming from here is non-standard. Behind this table, there's a sliding glass door over here going to the back. You could, of course, do atrium doors or like a 12-foot multi-slide, or even just a slightly bigger slider. So the 6-foot sliding glass door is standard there, but there's so many options to change that if it's not your preference.
Katie, Kelly would like you to repeat about the full wrap windows.
Okay, I'm gonna see if the camera turns a little bit to get a better angle of them. So close. Okay, we're gonna back up. So I don't know, it's a little tricky to see, but they have trim here going all the way around. So it's kind of picture framed these windows in, plus the windowsill. So top and bottom full wrap. As a standard, Adair does drywall wrap. So you can choose to either do a full wrap, you can do just a windowsill with an apron under it. And what these guys did is they kind of mix and match. So you saw in the utility room, that first window was just drywall wrapped. In the bedrooms and all the other rooms, they've got just window sills and aprons they added. But for these massive windows in the great room, they did a full wrap top and bottom to just really highlight this wall of windows. And there's so many options for trim. So we have what we call our standard colonial style. We have craftsman as an upgrade. We have architectural as an upgrade. Or you could even call out like, hey, we kind of like this craftsman style, but we want our baseboards to be 5 inches profiled. So a lot of options for trim packages. We got in here with the video right before Christmas, so we got to catch their cute, cute tree. And then I don't know, you might have noticed there's speakers throughout, which of course is something we let homeowners use. So low voltage wiring you can do during construction, and they added their own kind of entertainment system or music system throughout the whole house during construction. And then this is that bonus room that they added. So I'm going to pause here for a minute. So this is a better angle, Kelly, of that full wrap window. I don't know if you can see it a little bit better here, but we've got trim all the way around, plus this window sill at the bottom. This bonus room that they added is about 15.5 by 15. So nice big kids room, school room, I think was the intent. Recessed lights again. You probably saw those speakers on the ceiling again in there. And then just a nice shot of these massive 12-foot ceilings in this huge room. So for those of you that missed when Jen and I were talking about cabinets, these are all made to order. So you could look at Adair's suggested cabinet layout and be like, meh, this is, you know what, this is cool, but it works better for me to have drawers on all the lowers rather than cabinets, or pull-out shelves, or a garbage can drawer, or cutting boards, or spice racks, or wine racks. Or you could make these taller. It'd be tricky to get to the 12-foot cabinet up here, but you could absolutely make these go all the way to the ceiling. So the sky really is the limit. It's been kind of trending lately, I'll say, to delete uppers and have just open shelves, which we can absolutely do. Painted, stained, knotty alders. There's so many options for your cabinets. So we are rounding the corner here to this hallway where we access the bedrooms 2, 3, and 4.
Scott wanted to check on the lights above were the lights above the kitchen cabinets included? Was it under cabinet lighting option?
I'm going to back up a little bit. So you can absolutely choose to add under cabinet lights. They're not standard, but they can be added by Adair. And then the lights up here were added by the homeowner, who is actually an electrician. So those were an owner to do. Have you ever done those before, Jen?
I have not, but they do look great.
They look really cool. Yeah. Otherwise, just recessed lights everywhere. Of course, you can do pendant lights, add lights, delete lights. Okay, so this is that half bath. And when we do a half bath, our standard is to do the toilet and then a pedestal sink. So you can absolutely choose, this is a standard pedestal. You can absolutely choose to upgrade it if you like a different style of sink, if you want to add cabinet basin for storage with a drop-in sink. There's lots of options in here as well. But this is actually a nice big size or good size half bath. Okay, so continuing down this hallway, we have, of course, that upgraded carpet again. Craftsman trim, 5-panel modern.
We had a couple people come in through the chat versus the questions.
Okay.
Joseph asked about what are full wraps on the windows. I think that she explained that. If you want more clarification, just put it in the Q&A. And then another person asked, what was the price of add-ons for this build?
Okay, that question comes up every time, and I'm always reluctant to share it just because this house was ordered over a year ago. However, total upgrades added for this project, about 75,000, just under 75,000 in additions.
Okay, then one more person actually just jumped into the chat versus the question and answers. On average, what percent above the base price do homeowners invest in upgrades, and what percent do they do on their own?
I don't know that I have average percentages. I will say, at least from this branch, which your branch could be very different, Jen, but I would say our average homeowner does 80,000 in upgrades. So of course you could come in and build a beautiful house with 0 upgrades. And then we have sometimes people come in and do hundreds of $1,000s in upgrades. So really totally personal preference versus what you're comfortable doing down the road and what your budget is and your priorities. But what would you say your average is for upgrades?
I would say between 50 and 80. And again, it comes to just the upgrades. If a customer is going to do the upgrades, they can't do it while we're in there. And I think that becomes the biggest decision maker of what can they live with until they're able to upgrade it. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. And there's things that down the road are, just next to impossible to upgrade, like the taller ceiling. So your homeownership counselor would work with you. So if you knew your budget and you're like, hey, we've got about this much to spend on upgrades, help us prioritize. We could absolutely, hey, this would be easy enough to do down the road versus this, and kind of give you our guidance or our thoughts on the matter. Because window trim came up again. So this is a good example of a window that's not wrapped. So you'll see there's just this wooden sill and apron added down here, but the other sides of the window are drywall wrapped versus what we saw in that great room, which was full wrapped. I love this room. I love this wall that she did. I think this is so cute. But this is bedroom 2. So this is about 13 by 10 and a half. Upgraded carpet, craftsman trim, recessed lights. This is bathroom 2. So as a standard on this bathroom, we're going to do just a single sink in the vanity. However, you can see there's plenty of space. If you wanted to do 2 sinks in here, we could absolutely do that. And then also as a standard in this bathroom, they do the sinks, the vanity in one room, and then in another room, the toilet and the shower. The standard, they did the standard shower in here, which is a fiberglass tub shower combo, which you could of course upgrade to like the tile shower we saw in the other bathroom or what have you.
Question on, do we also offer the bullnose corners?
I wonder if we're talking drywall or countertops. Either way, the answer is yes, absolutely.
And then what was the cost of the 12-foot ceilings for this home?
So the cost is dependent on your build location. Gosh, I'm not even sure what it is today. It's probably about a $20,000 change, $25,000 change. I'm not sure.
I'll look it up.
Okay, we'll see what it is in Spokane. So this is bedroom 3. This is just under 12 feet wide by 13 foot deep. And they've got in here, so she did this accent wall herself, which turned out so cute. The Craftsman trim, just a windowsill rather than the full wrap. We've got 9-foot ceilings in this bedroom with the recessed lights. And then that same carpet you're seeing. The closets in these 3 bedrooms are 6-foot closets with the bypass doors. You could, of course, modify if you don't like the bypass. You could do bifold or you could do French. And then coming down into bedroom 4. Sorry, did I interrupt you? So this room is 13 by 10. Another cute accent wall. They did this light fixture themselves. But what you're seeing here otherwise, Craftsman trim. These 2 windows are standard. So we've got 2 4x6 windows here facing out. 9-foot ceilings, recessed lights.
Okay, so in Spokane, the mixed plate height option is 23,000.
23. Okay. I want to say Crestwell is right in that same. So this, we don't open this closet, but this is that standard storage closet. It's just, it's got 4 shelves on 2 walls. It's about 4 by 4. So a nice big storage closet in the hall. One last shot of that kitchen.
One question came in on their lot, power, water, and sewer available. Does Adair take care of connections as part of the base price?
Sorry, what was that? I missed the first part.
On our lot, power, water, and sewer are available. Does Adair take care of the connections as a part of the base price?
Okay. I love talking about site prep, so this is a great question. So when you see the base price online, it is just solely for the house. So your additional cost would be the land and then what we call site prep, which site prep is kind of an umbrella of all work required in order for the land to be buildable. So in this case, those connection fees would fall into that site prep budget. You can always call your local Adair office and get kind of an average. So, you know, we're thinking about buying this lot. Here's what's on it. What should we expect for site prep? And they can absolutely give you average for budgeting purposes. But you essentially have 2 options for site prep. You can do what's called owner equity, which is where you say, you know what, we know an excavator and we're comfortable and confident kind of taking on the site prep portion of the project ourselves. We're going to put together our own bid package with Adair's assistance. Or you can do what's called turnkey, which is where you say, hey, we are, you know, we're busy, we're not comfortable taking on any portion of the site prep project. We'd like Adair to bid our site work and our house. But to answer the original question, base price of the house only includes the house, so foundation up, not the site work. Do you have anything you want to add to that, Jen?
I think that is correct.
Okay, site prep is it's surprisingly when people come in to do a new presentation with me, everybody wants to talk about the house, and I love to talk about the house. That's my favorite part, but site prep deserves a good chunk of conversation, site prep, because it's so specific and there's so many variables. So site prep is something that your HOC would be happy to talk with you about. I'm just going to pause on this wall right here, because I was kind of saying earlier, you know, we've got a standard sliding glass door here, which is 6 foot wide, but we have plenty of space to do something different if you don't love the sliding glass door. So, and then same for all these windows. You know, we've had people that come in, they're like, oh, we love the standard windows. It's beautiful. It's perfect. And then sometimes we have people come in, they're like, okay, I need this to be symmetrical. So I want French doors in the middle, and then I want mirrored windows on either side, or, you know, I want just super tall windows. I don't want them to open. So really, just like with cabinets, sky's the limit for windows. Looks like we have lots in the chat.
I have been answering those as we went.
Beautiful. Okay.
And then we just got one in. Can your homes be built on sloping lots? And what might be an average ballpark price on site prep in Kitsap County?
So I'll answer part of that and then kind of defer to your local Adair office for the second part of the question. But yes, we can build on sloped lots. In my area, finding a flat lot is kind of a unicorn at this point. So it feels like we build on more sloped lots than flat lots. What we usually like to do, so sometimes homeowners will come to us and be like, you know what, we've got an 8-foot fall, we want a daylight basement, and they'll know exactly what they want to do with the land. But you can also have at your site visit, your superintendent kind of give you the options. So we can do step the foundation to kind of follow that natural grade of the land. We can do tall crawl spaces, we can do walkout basements. My area doesn't do full basements, does yours?
Not standard. It would be
Okay.
custom.
Okay, we don't, even as custom, we won't do them because our water tables are so high. So we basically be building a swimming pool under your house. But we'll kind of say, you know, here's what we would do and why, but here's your options. And then we'll price out based on which direction you want to go.
But I got a bunch of questions also coming in about can lights.
Okay.
One of them says, how many can lights come standard in the kitchen? Which standard in the kitchen would be 5 can lights?
5 in this plan, plus 1 over the sink. So 6 total, but the 1 over the sink's on its own switch.
Okay, and then another one asked about the can lights that were in the bedrooms. Were they standard, or did they get upgraded?
So actually the only standard can lights at this point are in the kitchen. Everything else is an upgrade.
And then were the bedroom sizes in this house standard, or were they bigger?
They were standard. Yep, all left standard. Aside from that bonus room, obviously, which they had added them, you know, as a custom option. Everything else was left standard size.
Okay, and then Kelly asked, can they slope the roof of the main area upward toward the backyard?
Upward toward the backyard. Okay, the easy answer is yes. But so whereas we have essentially, and this is going to be probably more answer than you want, Kelly, but we have a couple of different paths when you build with Adair. So we have what's called, you know, just a standard pre-engineered path, meaning you find a plan online, you like it, we do some modifications, you order it. If you start doing a lot of structural modifications, we put you down what's called our custom path, which is where you say, okay, these are the significant changes I want to do. We say, here's approximately what it's going to cost you. And they say, great. We have you meet with our drafting team, and then we redraw the plans based on what you discussed with our drafting team. So I would think changes like that to the roof, I guess, depending on exactly what you're thinking, would probably put you into that custom path.
She said, thank you.
Okay, there is a third option too, which I should throw out. So, and that is just going full custom. So you could say, I've looked at Adair's plans, I love them, but actually I've got this floor plan that my grandma built that I've loved my whole life that I want Adair to bid. So you can just bring us custom plans and say, hey, bid these, and we'll say, okay, great, yep, we can do this. Here's approximately what it's going to cost, and then send you to meet with the drafting team.
Okay, looks like any more questions and out there, I'm gonna recheck the chat.
Okay, so this is the back of the house, obviously. You're looking at the patio cover, which they had us add as a custom or as a standard upgrade. You could choose to modify the size. So this is about 14 wide and 12 deep. You can say, you know, I'd like it to span the whole house length, or these can absolutely be customized. And then you're also looking at the heat pump, which is a good point for me to say that the base price of your house includes your heating and air conditioning. So this is standard here. Lots of windows. We'll pause on the outside. Actually, I'll just let it roll again. Do you have any questions trickling in?
Yep. How much does the third car garage add to the price?
About $20,000, depending on your build area.
Yeah, sometimes the size of that third bay can come into play on that one.
Absolutely. Which as a standard, so if you were to just say we want a third car, 12 foot wide, 20 foot deep with an 8 foot overhead door is a standard size for a third car, but you could totally customize that. You could also just take your garage and say, we don't need another door, but we want to push this wall out 4 feet. Easy enough.
Andrew asked, can you show any of the build in progress? Oh,
yeah. I don't have any pictures of that. It's funny. I went out to see this build in progress a couple of times, but I didn't take any pictures. I'm so sorry. But Andrew, if you're considering an Adair build, you can get in touch with your local Adair office and ask them to give you a tour of a house in construction. If you're wanting to see the bones of the house, we're more than happy to meet you at a project.
and then what is the base price for this model? That's
Base
really
price?
going to be dependent on the area that you live in.
Definitely. And actually our website has the most up-to-date pricing. So if you ever get on the website and you click the area on the build area map where you are, where you're considering building, that's going to give you the most updated base pricing for all of our models. But we, for those of you that don't know, we build in, you know, Idaho, Washington, Oregon, Arizona. So there's a lot of variance in base price in those build areas.
Christy asked if we can put a 512 suite as an option on this home.
Definitely. 512 can be added to any plan, detached, attached, absolutely.
Someone said, how much would the stone accents on this exterior add to the price?
So stone is charged by square foot. So it would be kind of dependent on how much you wanted to add. I want to, and Jen, maybe you have a good answer for this too, but I would say probably the average house I do where we do cultured stone on the front and the pillars, it usually adds about $5,000.
Yeah, I see
Yeah.
that. All right. Yeah. Kelly, is the water tank on demand? Not the standard water tank.
But it could be.
Yes, that could be an option.
Which is a good segue. So our standard plans include a heat pump style water heater, the heat pump, the furnace, the kitchen, appliances. Those are things I usually kind of touch on as I'm talking, but I don't remember saying any of that. Plus we bypassed going into the garage, so you didn't get to see the water heater.
Kara wants to know, is it possible to move the wall in the bathroom to allow for a different size tub and shower?
Yes, I'm not sure which bathroom you're thinking of. I'm gonna guess bathroom 2, that over by the kids' bedrooms. So it would just be kind of a design game, deciding where you want to take space from and how you want to make it happen, but we can absolutely reconfigure to make sure you get what you need in there.
And then Kelly wants to know for the exterior, what is the base design? In other words, does the base include the rock and such?
No. So base package, they give you usually in little small font that they've added, you know, that this, we're showing this pictured with cultured stone, or is this one? Oh, they both, it's the same picture. So everything on this base image, or everything on this image, is standard with the exception of the stone. And we actually, just in the last month, we added interior and exterior paint to our base price. And this is a good rendering of how many paint colors you get for the outside. Of course, you don't have to do, I mean, you'll see in this gallery, we've got one that just has 2 colors. So, but paint is included in that base price. So the base price of the house is a move-in ready home. So foundation up, with the exception of your refrigerator, your washer, and your dryer. We'll leave it on this picture for a while because it's he's such a crowd pleaser. It's such a beautiful house. We'll stall there for a minute. Are you still getting questions?
I am. Let's see. Are the black windows standard for this home?
No, they are not. So white is standard. You can do, we have people do the almond color and the black color. It's just a custom option. And you can actually, I mean, if you wanted to do black on the front, white on the back, you totally could. You can design it however you see fit. I see Kevin keeps raising his hand, but I'm not sure. Kevin, I'm not sure what, you might want to just add a question to the Q&A if you don't mind. They slowing down or still coming in?
They're still coming in. We had
Okay.
one answer come through the chat asking if we can exclude paint from the price.
We cannot. Nope, it is part of the base package. And I kind of, I'm currently building with Adair, and when I signed up, was all gung ho to give myself this big to-do list. And now the idea of someone else painting my house sounds really exciting. So, but no, we can't exclude it. It's just part of the base.
Kara wants to see, can they access the video after the webinar so she can see the walkthrough one more time?
Yes, we're going to put it on YouTube. It usually takes maybe a day to get uploaded, but then you'll be able to find it just by searching Adair Homes Virtual Tour Bannock Plan.
Kelly says, can you refresh my memory? How many panes are the windows? Are they double pane, triple pane?
They're double pane standard, right? I don't know what the premium grade upgrade takes you to. Do you?
Oh, I don't remember. I
No.
want to say it's like, I would say 4,000 or 5,000, depending on where you are, to upgrade to premium windows.
Premium windows. But the standard is just a double grade or a double pane vinyl. And we have, so if you reach out to your local office, they'll send you the ratings for the windows and the insulation and everything that's standard
For that area.
for that area.
Yeah. Kevin said, I saw a house he fell in love with for 320K, but it doesn't give an idea of how much land will be, how much for the land.
So we're build on your lot, meaning you find the land and then we build on it. So it would be very much dependent on if you're looking at acreage or a city lot or a flat lot or a lot covered in trees. We don't have land for sale, although every office has what we call realtor partners. So we could connect you with, okay, here's a realtor who knows our process, knows what to look for based on the plan you're looking at, and they would get you going in the right direction. If you are considering using a construction loan, the loan's intended to pay for that land, pay for all the site prep, and pay for the house. So it's not a matter of you going out and finding the land and buying it. It's just a matter of you kind of resourcing or using the resources provided to find that land yourself and then calling us to come check it out and see if we can build what you want to build on it.
Kevin also wants to know if there's any properties being built in North Bend, so he could drive by and see the work.
I would think yes, absolutely. Just give the North Bend office a call and they'll absolutely kind of point you in the right direction. I know that we can't give out addresses, but we can say, hey, check out this area, or we can meet you there.
I'm going back a little bit to site development. Zach wants to know what kind of prep do we have to do for the site?
Okay, so in order for us to build, we need and this is if you decide not to do turnkey, if you decide to handle the site prep. We need a pad that's within 3 inches of level with 3 to 6 inches of gravel on it. And I should say that could be very specific to Crestwell. Jen, you might have even different answers. So absolutely call your office, but flat pad, water and power within 50 feet.
Yep.
And then access. We have to be able to get to the site, of course.
Yeah, so the price is really foundation up.
Foundation to finish, yep.
Christy asked about the kitchen cabinets. She wanted to know if those were standard.
So the style of cabinet, that shaker style, is within the standard price, but she chose to add a paint, which is considered an upgrade. But we have, I don't know, 10-ish stains standard, maybe more. So had she decided to do the shaker style with one of our standard stains, then it would not have been an upgrade.
Scott wants to know what the square footage ended up being on this home once they added the bonus.
This is 2477.
And Kevin wants to know how to get a hold of the North Bend office, which anybody or online people, when you chat with them online, can actually book your appointment when you're available Monday through Saturday, sometimes Sundays, with the reps in there.
Otherwise, well, I was going to say just Google search Adair Homes North Bend, and it'll give you the phone number for the office. But calling that phone number takes you to our online team as well. So they're the ones that really route your messages and book your appointments.
Marty wants to know what kitchen countertops are standard.
Laminate are standard. And then we have upgrade options of granite or quartz. We also have a high definition laminate, which I always forget about. I always forget to mention, but it's kind of a cool product.
Zach says, if the pad is prepped, do you tap and run the utilities?
We do not. So it's kind of all or nothing. Either you're turnkey, meaning we do all the site prep, in which case we would connect to utilities, or you're owner to do, meaning we build the house and you bring your connections to the foundation.
Christy says, what is the size of that island?
Oh, no, let me get my ruler. Give me a minute. So it is 4 feet wide by just under 8 feet long. And you could, and this is true for all of our plans, you can reconfigure the island. So some of them will have kind of that L-shaped corner look. You could choose to do a 2 height, so you have a bar top at the top, or you could just do a flat rectangular. You can move your sink and dishwasher off of there if you're just looking for a nice big workspace. So lots of options for modifying islands. You could also look at a plan that has maybe a 2.5 by 5 foot island, and if there's space, you can absolutely decide to make it bigger. You can do an overhang for bar stools. Lots and lots of options there.
Zach said, is the owner to do less expensive?
Is it less expensive?
Yeah.
Yes. So yes, because you're taking on a good portion of work. So when you go the owner to do route, you are sourcing your own contractors and gathering bids. Once you've ordered the house, you're now calling those contractors and arranging for the work to be done. And then kind of during the project, I guess there's not really a lot during the project that you're doing, but but you are taking it on a good chunk of work. So if that's something you're comfortable with, which every branch has a list of contractors. So if you decide to go the owner to do route, here are contractors our customers have previously worked with that got great reviews. You could choose to call somebody off that list, or you could choose to go your own way. But you're managing that portion of the project rather than having Adair manage it.
Yeah. So the price online is for the owner to do. If we added, because if we had turnkey onto it where we manage the excavation and the hookup, then that would be an additional cost for us to manage that.
Totally.
Jim wants to know what's approximate build time.
Very, very much dependent on your area.
Yeah,
Jim and I were talking about that before we went live, actually. Yeah. So like my build time is different than hers, which is absolutely different than King County, which is absolutely different than our Arizona branches. So very, very totally dependent on your area.
Christy says, is this style of home available as an option in Arizona?
I don't know. Let's look.
I believe the layout is available. It just looks a little bit different on the exterior.
Let's have a look. I think you're exactly right. I think that it has like the stucco and the tile roof rather than, but the layout for sure. Let's just see. I think I'm in Arizona. Maybe, maybe not. I should be more familiar with our website than I am. Oh, no plans. So there's no Riata plans. But if we were to pick a 2,400 square foot single level, let's just see what it would look like. I think this is it, right? The Hayden?
Yeah.
Is that the Bannock equivalent? So they have a couple options here, but yeah, totally different style. They have the stucco and the tile. It's just cute. Yeah.
Well, and I think that you can work with your home, with the home ownership counselors down there. If there's certain pieces of the Riata that you'd like to see if it can be sourced in down there, because that becomes more of the thing is what we can source into those areas. So that would be worth a call into the local branch.
Absolutely. And it is, you were right, it's the exact same floor plan.
Kevin said, typically how long for King County? Give us a scale.
Oh my gosh, I'm not even, I don't know.
For us, we're not from that jurisdiction or that area. It's hard for us to give you an idea of time. I know King County is a long permitting process, which is a part of it. So that one you would definitely want to reach out to the local Adair office. Marty Pell, is there added cost depending on more remote build sites such as Lake Coeur d'Alene? That's in my area.
Hey.
Cost, there's added cost if you're more than 30 miles from the branch itself that we would calculate for mileage. Other added costs, especially because we get a lot of snow up here, would be snow load requirements from Kootenai County. Things like that come into play depending on the build area. The biggest thing we're looking for the build is, can our big trucks hauling the truss systems get in and out of there? You know, is the road wide enough? Is it a place for us to go drop off, turn around? Those types of things come into the equation. Zach says, to clarify, turnkey is not the online base price. That's correct. So turnkey is added onto the base price, but it's where Adair manages the utilities within 50 feet. We will do the site excavation. We'll do some of the flat work, but that is an add-on to the base price.
And turnkey is just totally in reference to site prep. Whether you go turnkey or not does not change the house or anything that goes in the house or the cost of the house. It's just the cost for your site prep.
Yeah. Christy said that the Arizona version is not nearly as cool.
That's it's cute. Maybe Chrissy, you're used to seeing stucco houses, and so you're kind of used to them. But in our area, there's like no stucco houses, so I think so original looking.
That was our last question on the Q&A, and Jeff says, can you expand the entry and great room? Can you expand the entry? Maybe can you expand the entry to the great room?
Yes. So if you're thinking maybe even just the foyer, but yes, either way, the answer is yes. So I don't know. I'm going to try to go back to Oregon now that I've got myself in Arizona, and show you the pictures you see of the house in the picture gallery for our Bannock Plan shows double doors going in. So they've actually just made that whole foyer wider going into the great room from the front door.
Zach says, is there a range for the turnkey edition? Depending on the size of the home, I guess would be a part of it.
I can tell you, so in Oregon, the range is somewhere between $30,000 and $45,000. And what you're getting in that cost is the excavation, the gravel, the dig out, obviously, connecting to your utilities, the concrete, finished concrete. So you get in front of the garage, the slab, your walkway to your front door, and your patio. That's probably the gist of it. And then we also handle like construction insurance and porta potty, and kind of the idea is to take as much off your hands as we possibly can. Even when you go the turnkey route, there's things that we can't do. So there's still things that you may be involved in. In my area, most commonly that is scheduling for surveys or geological testing. So in that case, we would say, okay, here's a list of what we expect from you. Here's a timeline in which you need to get it done. Here's who to call, but you would essentially manage just a couple little things rather than the big project. Do you think 30 to 45 for your region too, or is that significantly different?
For Spokane, I think, that's pretty much the same. I would say we're more like 35 to 50,000.
Oh, wow.
For
Okay.
turnkey.
Okay.
And I did get an answer back on the sheetrock earlier. Somebody asked if we could upgrade to the 5/8 sheetrock, and the answer is yes, we can.
Okay.
Those are considered custom options that we would submit for pricing. So we wouldn't be able to give prices on that kind of an option because it's not something that we would normally do.
So Zach, in Deschutes County, you would call the Redmond branch. So the HOC in Redmond is Joe, and he is excellent and knowledgeable, and he can tell you what to expect for pricing, what to expect for timelines, and kind of give you the whole lay of the land. And there's never, I think a lot of times people feel reluctant to call the office until, they know the land that they're thinking of, or they know the house plan they're thinking of, or they have financing locked in. None of those are prerequisites to talking to us. So you could just be thinking, I might want to build a house. You could just very casually be starting to consider building, and absolutely reach out to your HOC. And what we'll do is we'll build a budget based on what you're looking to do. So whether you're looking at rural or city land, what your preference would be, what size house you're looking at, what the average site prep budget is. So we'll give you timelines and a budget and just help you decide if it's feasible.
You guys are such a great group asking questions.
I love this.
What might it cost to remove the trees, etc., from my lot prior to prepping for the house? That is all dependent on your excavator, and if we're, that would be something additional added into turnkey to remove trees if the excavator in that particular area does that. So in Spokane, I know our excavator can do that, but not all of them have the ability to do that. So
same here. Yep. You can absolutely call. So So you could absolutely call an excavator and say, hey, can you bid this for me, or a tree company, like bid this for me, and get an exact price and decide, if it's worth it to you to move forward, or if you want to go to plan B.
And some of that has to do with like, do you have a place on the lot for once they pull the tree? Can they put them? Because otherwise you get charged for haul off as well once they down the tree. So the different things come into play there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It would cost way more here in Eugene to remove a tree than it does in our rural areas.
Yeah. All right. And we didn't forget about the bigger hallway. Here's the double door from the entry.
You can see, I think we've got a shot going right into there you go. So kind of just where the standard is a single door and a side light, these guys stretched it out. They took a little space from their utility room and just made this kind of grand foyer coming from the double doors at the front.
Another question, does the turnkey price include excavation and other site prep and all painting? How about concrete? So the good news is painting is now included in the price of the home, inside and outside. It does include some of the concrete. So the sidewalk in front of the garage, you would have concrete, a little patio in the back would be included. Excavation and getting ready for foundation is included in that. We don't do wells or septics. And if we're pulling power more than 50 feet, that would be an additional charge that we would have to add into the cost of the turnkey. Or if you were going to do a third car bay and you wanted extra concrete in front of that in your driveway, that would be an additional charge. So anything larger than what comes with the standard home.
Oh, we have an Adair financing question from Zach. So we do have Adair Financial, which, back to my plug for it's never too early to call an HOC. If you do meet with an HOC, or even before you meet with an HOC, if you're just thinking, hey, we don't know if financially this is a good time for us to do it, we don't know what we qualify for. Adair Financial is the only construction lender that I know of that does a soft credit pull. So you can fill out the application and find out what you're qualified for before you even start planning. So absolutely, in-house lending, super easy to work with, super easy to get your questions answered. Okay, have they?
I think all of our questions are caught up.
Okay. Well, the whole video will be on YouTube, like I said. Oh.
If you're buying cash, how are the funds dispersed? If you're paying for with cash, how are the funds dispersed?
So we would give you what we call a draw schedule up front. The draw schedule would change depending on whether or not you're turnkey or owner equity for your site prep. But it essentially ends up being 5 draws throughout the course of construction. So we try to do about 1 per month, I think is how it works. But once you've built your budget, you've designed your house, we'll give you a draw schedule. So here's what to expect. Here's what you're paying for. Here's when the draw is going to come out, or be requested, I should say. Okay. I really like when we have participation. It's really exciting. We get these new questions in. Otherwise, I kind of just breeze by some stuff that I love to talk about. So this is exciting. Thank you all so much for participating. And Jen, thank you so much for co-hosting and managing those questions. I really appreciate it. So this will be live on YouTube. You can watch the house video as many times as you want. And you can even mute us out of it if you don't want to hear us talk anymore. So thank you all so much for joining, and we hope to see you at the next one.
Thank you, everybody, for joining.